PTSD and tinnitus. The role of neuroplasticity in recovery. The intersection of PTSD and tinnitus raises many questions for those affected. Below are evidence-based answers to the most common concerns, reflecting the latest understanding of how these conditions interact on a neurobiological level. These questions address the practical considerations that arise when dealing with this complex combination of conditions, offering clarity based on current scientific understanding rather than outdated approaches that treat each condition in isolation. Can PTSD cause tinnitus even without physical ear damage? Yes, PTSD can absolutely cause or trigger tinnitus without any physical damage to the ear structures. This occurs through several neurological mechanisms: hyperactivation of the autonomic nervous system, altered activity in auditory processing regions, and dysregulation of attention networks that normally filter out background neural noise. Brain imaging studies confirm that many PTSD patients with normal hearing tests still show abnormal patterns of activity in auditory processing regions, particularly when under stress. This explains why some trauma survivors develop tinnitus immediately after a traumatic event, while others may experience onset months or even years later, as neural pathways gradually reorganize in response to chronic stress. How long does it typically take to see improvements with neuroplasticity-focused treatments? Most patients begin noticing subtle improvements within 4 to 6 weeks of consistent neuroplasticity-focused treatment, though significant relief typically requires 3-6 months of regular practice. Initial changes often involve improved tolerance for the tinnitus sound rather than reduced volume, as the emotional response shifts before perception changes. The timeline varies considerably based on several factors. The duration of symptoms, longer-standing conditions generally require more time. The severity of trauma, more complex PTSD may extend the timeline. And treatment consistency, daily practice accelerates improvement. Importantly, progress rarely follows a linear pattern. Most patients experience fluctuating symptoms with an overall positive trend over time as new neural pathways strengthen and old ones weaken. Are there any foods or supplements that help with neuroplasticity for tinnitus? Nutrition for neuroplasticity in PTSD-related tinnitus. While no diet or supplement can cure tinnitus or PTSD, certain nutrients support the brain's natural capacity for positive change. The following have demonstrated benefits for neuroplasticity in research studies. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish, flax seeds, and walnuts, support neuron membrane fluidity and BDNF production. Antioxidants. Colorful fruits and vegetables protect neurons from oxidative stress that impairs plasticity. Magnesium. Sows, dark chocolate, avocados, and leafy greens help regulate glutamate activity and support BDNF zinc. Oysters, pumpkin seeds, and legumes support synapse formation and neuronal growth. Vitamin D. Sunlight exposure and fatty fish enhance neuroplasticity and regulate neurotransmitter systems. Evidence suggests an anti-inflammatory Mediterranean-style diet provides the optimal nutrient profile for brain health and neuroplasticity. Beyond specific nutrients, meal timing and blood sugar stability play crucial roles in supporting neuroplasticity. Research shows that intermittent fasting approaches may enhance BDNF production and promote neural repair mechanisms. However, individuals with PTSD should approach fasting cautiously, as blood sugar fluctuations can sometimes trigger stress responses that worsen symptoms. Together with our recommended natural supplement source, they make a powerful pair. It's worth noting that while certain supplements like ginkgo biloba and vinpocetine have shown promise for improving cerebral blood flow and potentially supporting neuroplasticity, the evidence specifically for PTSD-related tinnitus remains preliminary. Always consult with healthcare providers before starting any supplement regimen, especially since some natural products can interact with medications commonly prescribed for PTSD. The most effective nutritional approach combines anti-inflammatory foods with regular meal timing and adequate hydration, creating physiological conditions that support the brain's natural healing mechanisms, rather than relying on any single miracle food or supplement. For those dealing with tinnitus, understanding progressive tinnitus management can be an essential part of a comprehensive wellness strategy. Can children with PTSD develop tinnitus differently than adults? Children's developing brains show greater neuroplasticity than adults, which creates both vulnerabilities and opportunities when it comes to PTSD-related tinnitus. Research indicates that children process trauma differently. Their less developed prefrontal cortex means they have fewer cognitive resources to contextualize traumatic experiences, potentially making them more susceptible to sensory processing issues like tinnitus. However, this same heightened neuroplasticity means children often respond more quickly to appropriate interventions, with some studies showing recovery rates nearly twice those of adults with similar symptom profiles. The presentation may also differ, with children more likely to describe their tinnitus in concrete terms, like bugs in my ears or angry bees, rather than the abstract descriptions adults typically provide. This developmental difference highlights the importance of age-appropriate assessment tools and treatment approaches when working with traumatized children experiencing tinnitus. For more on effective interventions, explore the effectiveness of cognitive behavioral therapy in reducing PTSD-related tinnitus symptoms. Is it possible for PTSD-related tinnitus to completely disappear? Complete resolution of PTSD-related tinnitus is absolutely possible, though the likelihood depends on several factors. Approximately 30 to 40% of patients who receive comprehensive treatment addressing both the trauma and auditory components report complete remission of tinnitus symptoms within 1 year. Another 30-40% experience significant reduction to the point where tinnitus no longer impacts daily functioning. Even if it occasionally returns during periods of stress, the remaining patients typically see moderate improvements that make tinnitus more manageable. Key predictors of complete recovery include shorter duration of symptoms before treatment, less than 2 years, absence of significant hearing loss, successful processing of traumatic memories, and consistency with neuroplasticity-based interventions. Even for those who don't experience complete disappearance, the qualitative nature of the tinnitus often changes dramatically, from a threatening, emotion-laden sound to a neutral background sensation that no longer triggers distress or fear responses. The brain's remarkable capacity for positive change means that healing is possible at any age and any stage of these conditions. With proper treatment that addresses both the neurological and psychological aspects of PTSD-related tinnitus, many patients find their way back to a peaceful relationship with sound and their own nervous systems. If you're struggling with both PTSD and tinnitus, remember that these conditions are connected through neurobiological mechanisms that can be addressed with the right treatment approach. Together with our recommended natural supplement source, they make a powerful pair. The Center for Neuroplasticity and Tinnitus Research offers specialized assessment and treatment programs designed specifically for individuals experiencing this challenging combination of symptoms. Neuroplasticity plays a crucial role in how the brain adapts to various conditions, including PTSD-related tinnitus. This phenomenon allows the brain to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections, which can be both beneficial and detrimental. Recent studies have shown that neuroplasticity can lead to changes in brain function and structure, impacting how individuals experience tinnitus. For more in-depth information, you can explore the cellular brain changes tied to PTSD and their relation to neuroplasticity.